Welcome back to Reviews and Rankings with Robbie Sobel. Today, I'm giving you yet another massive Dollar Tree DVD and Blu-ray haul. Alright folks, so since my last Dollar Tree haul video about a week and a half ago, I've gone to 4 separate Dollar Trees and was able to get in batches stacks of awesome flicks. I actually spoke to one of the managers at the Dollar Tree, and they said that sometimes bigger stores like Walmart that might be closing some of their locations will sell Dollar Tree, pennies on the dollar, a bunch of their stock, which include movies. So the reason why they can have all these films and sell them for $1 and make a profit is because it's literally costing them just a couple of cents per title. So what I was able to do to make things a little bit easier for everyone is to break these films down into 7 different stacks, and each stack represented a category where the films kind of tied together. The first category is going to be exorcism and possession films, and it's one of my favorite subgenres of horror. Admittedly, when these films are good, they're usually great, but when they're bad, they're terrible. And it's few and far between that you get a movie that kind of falls in between the cracks, even though that does happen. For $1 a piece, if I was able to find some that fell in the middle, I'd be totally fine with it. The first one is Ava's Possessions. I saw this film about 2 years ago on Netflix, and I thought it was a pretty solid film. It was a unique take on the subgenre about a girl who had been possessed, was able to become exorcised, and the demon was gone, but she was living with the after effects of it and going to like a rehab facility and almost like an AA meetings, like you would if you were an alcoholic or a drug addict or something. I thought it was a pretty cool film. I remember watching it really late at night, so I was kind of zoning in and out, so it deserves another watch for me. Once again, Ava's Possessions, the first one up. The next one is American Poltergeist. I'm sure just by looking at the basic cover, you can kind of get a general idea of what's going on. A murder took place in a house, and years later, a family comes to live there. We've seen this plot time and time again. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not, but for $1, why the hell not? The next one is Paranormal Abduction. This looks like a ripoff off of Paranormal Activity, even when you look at the coloring of the cover of the film and in the back as well. What did catch my eye is that it stars Edward Norton from Terminator 2 and as well as Pet Sematary 2. He's done a bunch of stuff. American History X, also fantastic in that. Next up is going to be Isabel. I've seen this movie in Walmart and in Target over the years. It's always caught my eye, but I never wanted to drop 10 or 15 bucks for it. I'm really kind of stingy when it comes to my my wallet and buying movies, unless it's a super mega set that I have to have. I just don't like putting the money out there because I feel like it's a waste. But once again, if you can get it for $1 or $2, you're not going to beat that price, so just grab them. Isabel, after moving to their perfect New England hometown, an all-American family deals with a demon that has possessed their home. Once again, we've seen that type of plot before. Some are good, some are bad. And the last one is called The Other Side. What caught my eye on this when I looked at the back of it was it won a bunch of independent film awards. The Slamdance Film Festival, Atlanta Film Festival, the Waterfront Film Festival. So I'm curious to see how this plays out. I didn't look up too much about this movie, but when I see that it has won a bunch of awards, it at least kind of clicks on my mind that it's worth a shot. The stack that is all alone by itself, zombies. I love them. I'll watch everything zombie, and I will watch The Cured. This is about the zombie apocalypse that has happened. It's been taken care of, but people who were formerly infected, who were healed, are now trying to assimilate back into society, but people are pushing back against it, and they are really weary about if those people can still affect others. It seems like it's almost a metaphor or a parable for possibly maybe AIDS from the 1980s and 90s, the way people were really nervous about everything involved with that, or it could even be more timely when you're dealing with immigration and people don't know where you came from or what you might have. So this stars Ellen Page from Juno, and she's done a bunch of different stuff. So when I saw her name on there, it definitely caught my eye, and it says a unique take on the Walking Dead genre from Rolling Stone magazine. Worth a shot. The next stack that I'm going to show you guys are creature features. The first one is Storage 24, and it's actually the Blu-ray edition, so you get higher quality picture for the same dollar price. In this movie, London is in chaos after a military cargo plane crashes, and its highly classified contents are dropped all over the city. A bunch of friends are locked inside of a storage facility, and they have to deal with what's going on outside and inside. Next up, The Boat. I've been hearing a little bit about this. I haven't read any synopsis on it, but according to Film School Rejects, it ranks easily among the year's best horror films, best adventure films, and best films, period. Anything that's on the water, any type of movie that feels like an isolation horror flick, I dig. So if you're into that, this seems like you might want to check it out. The next one is Ridiculous, Trailer Park Sharks. I saw Ian Michael Nicholas and Tara Reid together. They were in, of course, the American Pie films. So if we can have a little fun with them in a silly shark movie, then go for it. It also has Dennis Haskins, who played Mr. Belding on Saved by the Bell. I'm sure it's going to be terrible, but hopefully in a so bad it's good way. Trailer Park Shark. Next one is Eye of the Beast. Once again, I'm assuming this is just another octopus crazy water creature movie, but what sold me was James Van Der Beek, Dawson Creek himself. So I've watched that show multiple times since I was younger, and I totally dig it. Next up, Sea Beast. Seems like yet another type of just sci-fi channel flick. I honestly was sold just because it came with a slipcover, and I'm a sucker for that type of stuff. So you know what? Sea Beast, maybe there'll be a good 1-2 combination with Eye of the Beast. Next up, I'm going to do 2 in 1. Lake Fear Part 2 and Lake Fear Part 3. From the synopsis on the back of these films, it doesn't seem like they relate and link together. It's almost like they're standalone stories about a bunch of people who end up on this lake and crazy stuff happens. In Part 2, it appears to be a alligator. And then Part 3, it appears to possibly be a possession flick. I wasn't totally sure, so I decided to link them and just deliver them both to you. Lake Fear 2, Lake Fear 3, didn't find Lake Fear 1. The next stack, slasher-ish films. The first one is a Blu-ray, a triple feature Blu-ray. So you get 3 movies for $1 on Blu-ray, which includes Midnight Movie, The Terror Trap, and Scar, the unrated director's cut. I have seen Midnight Movie a couple of years ago. It's one of those, just as it explains. People go to a movie theater, something happens at the theater while playing the movie, and all hell breaks loose. Terror Trap, I'll read it quickly for you. Follow Don and Nancy, stranded travelers who must stay in a nearby motel waiting for their car to be repaired. The typical night turns horrific as they must fight to survive or be the next victim of the terror trap. Ooh. And then Scar. Joan escapes a local undertaker who mutilates and tortures teenage girls. Upon her return to the town 16 years later, a copycat emerges and all clues lead back to the mentally frail Joan. So that could be interesting. Scar, Terror Trap, and the Midnight Movie. Next up is Skrull. Now this has Daisy Ridley in it, who was also in The Last Jedi, the Star Wars film. So that kind of caught my eye. But I really like the premise of this. It's basically about a kid who is bullied at school and who begins creating his own comic book. And in the comic book, he draws pictures of his bullies, and bad things end up happening to them. But what happens to them in the comic is now going to happen in real life. So I'm down. I like that type of stuff. Next up is Tell Me How I Die. It's a group of college kids who take part in an experimental drug where they find out how they're going to die, and at that same time they try to avoid death in the process. Who knows? Hidden gem, possibly. Next up looks to be an incredibly generic flick, Bride of the Scarecrow. Anything that takes place in a cornfield or in a scare maze like that, I find intriguing. ever since I started watching Children of the Corn at 4 years old in 1988. Yes, I'm kind of old, but that's true. So anything that takes place in that type of vicinity, I just gravitate towards, even if it's not the best quality. Bride of the Scarecrow at the Dollar Tree. Next up is Krampus 2, The Devil Returns. Full disclaimer, this is not a sequel. I repeat this. This is not a sequel to the theatrical release Krampus film that came out in 2015. During that time, another low-budget Krampus movie came out. It was sold for like $5 at Walmart to capitalize on the name. And this is a sequel to that movie. I haven't seen that first one. It's readily available, I believe, on Tubi, or you can find it online. So this is the sequel to that. But, you know, before you know it, Christmas will be here, and I'm down to check out Christmas-themed horror flicks. I actually did an entire video where I recommend Christmas-themed horror movies. I'll leave that in the description below. You can click on that. It's a pretty fun video to check out. On to our next stack. Killer Dolls. This is going to be a 3-pack. Dangerous Worry Dolls, Demonic Toys 2, Doll Graveyard, and When Puppets and Dolls Attack. I'm sorry, a 4-pack. Huh, that's a surprise. I have no idea what any of these movies are about. I'm sure we can use our imagination. But for $1, that turns out to be a quarter a piece. It's worth checking out, even if one of them is halfway decent. So if you're into killer doll flicks, you might want to check out this 4-pack. I have one more doll movie for you. It's called Mandy, the Haunted Doll. So a couple of years ago, we got The Boy that came out. And then earlier this year, the sequel, The Boy 2, came out, which was not very good. So the killer doll subgenre is starting to get revived. The Robert series is also getting popular direct-to-video, and it looks like this is trying to capitalize on that as well. Pretty cool cover, and why not? Worth a shot. Our next stack is essentially a miscellaneous stack. I wasn't sure where to throw these in there, but the first one is going to be Distorted. It actually is the Blu-ray edition, so once again you get better quality for the same price of $1, and it stars Christina Ricci, who I've had a chance to actually meet, and she's super nice, even more beautiful in person, and if you don't mind me saying so, I think we make a pretty cute couple. Anyway, opposite Christina Ricci is John Cusack, and it's about a couple who move into an apartment high-rise, and then crazy, wild things happen while they are living there. Who knows what's going to happen? I'm definitely going to check it out. It's a quick watch, too. It is only 86 minutes, so less than an hour and a half. So there you go. Distorted, Christina Ricci and John Cusack. Next up in the miscellaneous stack is Shuttle. It's a movie about two girls who are traveling on vacation, end up on a train shuttle, but while they are there during their ride, all hell breaks loose and their lives get put at risk. It seems to be like a revenge flick, possibly, and pretty intense. Once again, feels like isolation horror, and I gravitate towards those. I love those films. Next up is a double feature, and it is The Wicker Park and The Locust. I'm not sure what either of these movies are technically about, but Josh Hartnett is in Wicker Park. We know him from Halloween H2O and a bunch of other flicks, The Faculty, and a very, very young Vince Vaughn and Paul Rudd in The Locust. I'm sure if you've seen these movies, drop in the comments below and let me know what your thoughts are. But for a buck, why not? Oh, also Ashley Judd in The Locust. That's a pretty good cast. Vince Vaughn, Paul Rudd, and Ashley Judd. Not bad for a buck. As we continue on with our miscellaneous stack is a movie called The Odds. It seems almost like this is a Saw-inspired horror movie. It's about a girl who gets kidnapped. She wakes up, she's in a room with her captor, and she has to play a game to get out of the room safe. And last on our stack of miscellaneous horror films is The Demon Hunter. It's about a female badass who goes through a bunch of cults and satanic groups, trying to weed them out from society. It could be fun. It's 2020. We're all down to watch a female badass do her thing. And the last stack that I have for you are non-horror movies. So we're gonna go through here and take a look, which are almost all Blu-rays. First is The Humanity Bureau, starring Nicolas Cage. I'm not too sure about this flick, but when I see Nicolas Cage, it kind of catches my eye. He's very hit or miss for me, but lately he's been putting out crazy flicks. So for $1, why not? Then we have Outrage. It's a action Japanese mafioso movie. So if I can watch a movie about the Yakuza in Japan and them just going at it and killing each other, mixing like a Goodfellas Godfather vibe along with ninja and martial arts films, I'm totally there. This seems like it's absolutely badass. Plus, it's the Blu-ray. Can't pass it up. Just can't do it. Here's a movie that I probably should have seen by now, but I haven't. It's Mel Gibson in The Road Warrior. This is 1980s action. That's all you need to know. If you're into 80s action flicks, I'm sure this will be a movie for you to check out. I'm excited for it. Probably going to give this a watch next month in November, because since it's October, I got to stick with the horror flicks. Here's a thriller. It almost dips its toes from what I hear in the horror genre, but I kept it out just in case. And it's called Jonathan, about a boy who has a split personality and he has to fight between those personalities in regards to him living his life. Here's a movie I saw in the theaters a few years ago and was highly impressed, starring Colin Farrell, Dead Man Down. This is a flick, I think, if you're into just high action movies that move at a quick pace, don't expect high quality Oscar worthy action, but it's a good movie. It'll kill time, and for $1, why not? You also get the digital code with it. And last but not least is a movie I know zero about, and the only thing that sold it is the director's name, Steven Soderbergh. I was a big fan of Unsane when it came out to the theaters a couple of years ago, and since then I've taken a little bit of a deep dive into Soderbergh's filmography. I really love Contagion, which came out a few years ago and is incredibly timely considering the current pandemic and situation that we're living in now. He's got a wide range of films that I highly recommend, and this one is called Bubble. If you've seen this, please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. You can hit me up on social media. I'm really curious about this flick and the rest of his filmography. All right, guys, that was the DVD and Blu-ray haul from the Dollar Tree, Part 2. Were you able to go to your local Dollar Tree recently? If you have, in the comments below, let me know what you picked up. Maybe we got the same films, maybe we've got something different. Let's see and let each other know the next time that these stores bring in a bunch of these flicks that we can pick up. All right, so if you enjoyed what you see, hit the like button, subscribe, and stick around to the channel. I'm gonna be pumping out more trailer reactions, more movie reviews, and if I get to the Dollar Tree again, I'll let you know.